Okay, what I'm going to do now is create a very basic little ship, and then I'm going to put a custom texture on it. I'll use box modeling to do that. Now this is going to be really basic, so please no comments about, oh, that's really basic, because that's the whole purpose of this. This is for students that are just learning modeling. So I just drew a little box, and I happened to go over here to my viewport description, which is perspective, and I turned on smooth plus highlights, and I turned on edged faces by clicking here. So I right clicked to get to those. And now, since I am in a box, I can change some settings, but I see those settings aren't affecting this box because this is already thinking I've got a new box. Okay, so what I'm going to do is select this box that I just created. Let me do it again because I don't want to go too fast. So there's my box. Okay, and I can make some changes here. I'm not going to make a whole lot of changes. I'm going to keep this really a simple model as possible. Okay, and let's say that's good enough right there. I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to go to convert to editable poly. Now some of the things that I did on it, like this face right here, I'm going to go ahead and extrude that up, or I could extrude it or I could bevel it up, and I'll just scale it down a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take this face and just scale it down a little bit in this direction. And another way I can do all this is go to my top view, and I can grab all these vertices, and I can scale those out a little bit, and go to my front view and maybe lift these vertices up a little bit, and I'm going to move those. So you're really just manipulating vertices and faces, and I want this to come down a little bit. I want it to look more like a rocket ship or something, a jet, something, some flying vehicle. Haven't really decided. So I'll go to smooth plus highlights, and I'll say I want to see edged faces, and I want to turn this around, and this is probably good enough. Okay, oh, maybe some wings would be nice. So let's take let's hinge our wings out. So I'll pick that face, and I'll say I want a hinge from edge, and I want that hinge to be, I'll pick the hinge point right here, and I want it to be out 32 degrees is fine, and okay. And actually, I'm going to take this just a little bit further. I'm going to slice this thing down. Well, I'm going to avoid slicing it because I want to make this better, but I don't want to over confuse beginners right now. So I'm not going to try to do symmetry or anything like that. I'm just going to keep it simple. Okay, so good enough. And I mean, it looks really bad, but on the other hand, some beginners might have a challenge creating a shape like this right off the bat. Let me just make it a little bit more streamlined. And let's just take these vertices and pull them down a little bit, and pull the wings out a little bit, and I'll do that with a scale. There's something like that, and then we'll push them back. Just something we need something to work with here. Okay, not much of a ship, but it'll have to do. So now I want to paint it, and I want to paint it with a custom texture. First, let's look at a regular texture, because some people need to see that. So if I go to materials over here, if I just select this and go to materials, or I type in M, that brings up the material editor. And in the material editor, I'm going to assign a material. I'll just give it a fake name here. And I'm going to go to my Get Material button on the left here. And I'm working with this sample swatch. So Get Material, and what material do I want? I've got to go to the material library. I've got to open it up. I've got to go to my C drive where all my stuff is. Program files probably. Autodesk is not here. So let's go to Program Files x86, Autodesk. 3ds Max 9 is what I'm using right now. Material libraries, 3ds Max material, and there it is. There's the materials. Let's look at the big ball here so we can see the materials. All these are backgrounds, but the ones wrapped on the spheres are actual materials. And just as an example, I'm going to use this metal plate. I'll double click it. It populates the sample sphere over here. Let me right click and make this 3x2 sample windows so you can see those. Let me close the material map browser and let me just drag and drop this onto the vehicle. And it looks okay. And I'll click on the little, you can also click on the assign material to selection, and you can click on the show map in viewport button. But it's not showing, is it? Oh, because it slipped over here. So we'll just do that again. There we go. Do you want to see it? Yes. But I see some problems. This material is not laying well on the model. You can see it's, at least right here, it's having a hard time fitting that face. The UVs aren't quite right. So what you should do with every model, unless it's a primitive, and this used to be a primitive box, but now it's a model. So what I'm going to do is go to my modify panel and click on the down arrow and add a UVW map. What kind of UVW map do you want to add? Planar works for some things, but you can see it streaking on the edges here. It's as if we airbrushed this from the top. And it's not really working out. Okay, so what I'm going to use for most models, when you're in a hurry, box works pretty good. So if you look at box, it's a pretty decent solution, but it's not ideal. So now I'm going to do something a little bit more advanced. Let's make a copy of this, which I can do by doing a move and holding down shift, and I'll make another plane. Now this one I'm going to leave, I'm going to take this UVW mapping off. Okay. And I'm going to go to another modifier. Instead of UVW map, I'm going to use unwrap UVW. Unwrap UVW lets me click on edit. And there's edit. And there's my edit UVWs window. Kind of an unusual interface for sure. Let me move this so you can see it. This is kind of hard to fit on the screen. Okay, so like there. Completely different interface from 3D Studio Max. And so here's how it works. First thing is I don't want to see the checkerboard background right now, so I'm going to click on this little button here and that goes away. The second thing is I don't want to see the blue gridded lines, so I'm going to go to Options, Preferences, and turn off Show Grid and hit OK. Now it's easier to look at. Now I've got vertex mode, edge mode, and face subobject mode. I'm going to click on Face Subobject Mode, and I'm going to select all those UVs. Now what those are, they're all the UVs for this whole model. They're all stacked on top of each other. What I want to do is unfold them from each other. So I'm going to go to Mapping, Flatten Mapping. This is one way to do it. And I tend to turn off Rotate Clusters. And I'm just going to hit OK. Now I'm not going to change the face angle threshold or the spacing because these defaults are usually pretty good. And now I've got the map here. Now if I click on any of these, if I click away for a minute and click back, you can see that I've got every UV for this ship laid out. There's the roof, for example. And this wing, one of the wings, there it is. So what I want to do is put a number on this wing and maybe paint in the windshield, which is this thing right here. Now to paint that windshield, it might be easier for me if I rotate it. So what I could do is move it and rotate it. And there's more we could do with this, but I'm just going to do the basics. Just stick it right there. Just so you can see that you can manipulate these things. And the wing, I was going to do the wing too, right? I think it's going to be easier for me to paint this wing if I flip it and maybe rotate it a little bit. And that's, no, I don't know if I want to flip it that way or not. But I want this wing to be pretty big and detailed, so I'm just going to scale it up a little bit. So you can do that too. You can scale these up. It's an important thing to realize. So I'm going to put some stuff on this wing, and I'm going to put some stuff on the windshield and maybe some other stuff. Really quick and dirty. So I'm going to go to Tools, Render UVW Template, and it's giving me a default width and height, which is fine. You can change that if you want. Then I'll click on Render UVW Template. There's my template. Now I'm going to click on this Save Bitmap, and I'll save this. I'm just going to save it right in here for now. Actually, okay, and let's give it a name. I'll call this Jet Template. And for the formats, I'll use we'll just use JPEG because it really doesn't matter, and we'll say save and OK. And now we're done with that, and we can close all this stuff and go to Photoshop. And there's Photoshop, File, Open. Let's go find that template, and it is under here, and car animation. I think I put it in car animation, Jet Template, OK. And let's take this layer that it's on and double click it. Double clicking it lets us change it into a regular layer, which gives us a little bit more control. And I'm going to create another layer, and this will be the layer I draw on. Now this layer, I'm going to apply a mode to it. The mode will be screen. So now let's see what I can do. I can paint with any color I want. Let's say it's light blue, and it'll let me paint and see the lines through the paint, okay, which is really important if you're doing artwork. And what is this frames? Let's close this. Give me a little more working room. And so I've got to go ahead and make that windshield, right? Let's say the windshield's going to be gray. So I'll pick a gray out. And let's just go ahead and paint that. And of course, you don't have to stay in the lines, because the stuff that's not inside the lines isn't going to be seen anyway. So I'll just do some quick and dirty painting. And I think it might be nice with some white here, just to show you how you can paint these things up. If I draw some lines here, like, you know, like reflections you see in a comic or something. And now we were going to paint a number on that wing, right? So let's go ahead and do that. First I'll give it a color. And let's go ahead and go with the same color. And brush. In fact, I'm just going to say I want the whole thing to be kind of bluish. And again, I'm doing a rush job here. And we'll do some text. And the text color will be, as soon as it comes up, will be black is fine, or let's pick something else. Really intense, light green maybe. And it'll be right here. In 59, whatever. Just like a identifier. And let's make this bigger, just so you can see how to do it. And I may not even have it facing the right way. I'm not worried about that though. Anything else? I'm just going to put just a little more color on here so you can see that there's a lot of possibilities. Anything you could do in Photoshop is fair game here. But I'm going to do something pretty quick. I'll make a new layer to keep my colors separate. And bring this down. And let's just do that. Okay. Whatever. And now, that I'm done with this, I can go to the template and turn it off because I don't want that template. And then File, Save As. I'll save in the same place, but this one will be called, actually I should save the template. Well, I'll call this texture. You can do it a couple ways. I'm going to call this texture PSD just to save the PSD with all my layer information on it. And I'm getting this little warning, so I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to also do a save for the actual texture, which in this case should be a GIF. Jet texture GIF. Okay. Or if you want it semi-transparent, a PNG or a TIFF would work. Now back to Max. I want to see that texture on this ship, so I'm going to just select it. Just get out of every sub-object I might be in. And if you want to go back to editable object, you can. But the bottom line is I'll go to materials, make a new material, call it jet or whatever, and then under diffuse here, under blend basic parameters, under diffuse, I'm going to click the little none button to the right of diffuse. I'm going to go to the bitmap selection here and double click it. I'm going to go find the file I just made. Here it is, double click it, go to car animation where I saved it, take jet texture GIF, save it, and apply it by clicking on this assign material to selection and show map in viewport, and that's it. And no, it's not perfect, but not bad for what you can do in a hurry. And you can see some real issues there. I missed an entire wing. Let's make sure that I really missed it. Looks like if I turn on my texture, yep, I can't believe that. I missed all that stuff, but that's okay, because watch this. I'll go back and grab this material and I'll paint all that stuff up with a big brush again. And I'll save it. I like to save it with the template layer turned off. Just save as, and that was a GIF, and save. Yeah, I want to replace it. Yes, okay, and back to max, and as soon as you click in the screen it's all updated. And yeah, I know the stripes need work, but the object wasn't to create something beautiful, it was to show you how you can put custom textures on any model using Unwrap UVW.